Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski. Welcome to my quick investing guide for the Lunar New Year event in PokeMMO in the year 2026. Now, it is currently February 25th, 2026 as I'm recording this, and I'm going to try to get this video out at least by tomorrow at the soonest, and that's really important because we are running out of time to actually make your investments in PokeMMO during the event. Now, you might see this clock and see 6 days. You know what, Patrouski? That's a pretty good amount of time, but in actuality, I always recommend people finish up making their investments with about 3 days left in the event because usually prices will go up a little bit towards the end due to people panic buying things they want to own or maybe don't have access to, when in reality that supply is already there. Those things are already in the event. There's no reason to panic buy in the final 3 days. So this guide will be quick in terms of me hopefully getting it out to you guys and getting through the information, but there will be a lot of information that I actually have to run through. So first things first, let's start with the basics. There is 2 different types of main investments in PokeMMO, something called sealed product and not sealed product. Sealed product are things like lucky red envelopes, any sort of mysterious balls. These are products that can be opened to contain another product. That's important because think of these, if you know finance, as like your index funds of PokeMMO. They are a collection of stocks, a collection of things. If a few of these things go up or one of these things goes up, all of a sudden that sealed product also goes up. It's also a much more stable price. You can buy a vanity during an event for 3 million Pokeyen and it can crash as far down as 500k sometimes. But with sealed product, if you buy it for like 60k, worst case scenario, maybe it drops down to 40k, which is still a pretty significant loss. Don't get especially like in high quantities, but it's going to be a lot safer on average buying sealed products, much safer buying sealed product as opposed to single vanities or single items. In fact, I almost only invest these days in sealed product, or any investments that I make in funny little vanities are usually just very much I consider a gamble and a risk that I'm willing to take for the fun of it. Now, item number 2 I want to talk about is actually a big mental shift or a change that I feel like I've observed. The other thing I guess I want to mention is that everything mentioned in today's video is just my opinions. These are thoughts. These are my feelings. These are not objective facts. No one can predict a market with 100% certainty. Honestly, the best you can really do is about 60%. If you make 60% of the right decisions when looking at a market, you're doing pretty darn good and you're coming out on top. That's also why it's so important to spread your portfolio and buy different things. You don't want to just load up all your money into lucky reds. You want to buy some lucky reds, some, maybe red envelopes, some mysterious cherish balls, and then also some of the PvP mystery box. We'll get into all of my grades and actual proper deductions of those items here in a quick sec. But first things first, I got to cover that everything here is just my opinion. This is not financial advice. These are just my thoughts and feelings as one player. Yes, I have a lot of hours of experience. Yes, I have a lot of investments made over the years, with 13 years behind to making all these decisions, but that does not mean my opinion is any more right on average than some Joe on the street. I can still very much be wrong. I still very much make mistakes when it comes to the market, and thankfully I do also make a fair bit of Pokeyen, making decent investments over time. Once again, all you can do is try to beat 60% of the time, and that's pretty solid. But if you make money because of this video or lose money, that is your responsibility. That is on you. Whenever someone tries to thank me because they made a bunch of money off an investment that I made, I say, hey man, that is you took that risk. That is on you. Congratulations. And if you lose money, please don't blame me. It's your risk, either up or down. Anyways, back to the big change / shift that I feel like I've been observing in PokeMMO as the game has gotten way more competitive, way more serious over the past 4 years or so. As we've seen this renaissance re-pop up within PokeMMO, I do think we have seen a lean towards pragmatic rewards within PokeMMO, and I think that is really important. I think players are moving away from vanities a ton with these past few events. This is just my feeling, my vibe. I think that I've seen players move a lot away from visuals, vanities, drip, riz. Not as many people are standing around Vermilion just AFKing as part of the end game. People have things to do. They're going out and they're shiny hunting, they're fossil hunting, they're in the safari zone, they're doing things, they're making Pokeyen. People are playing the game a lot more nowadays, as opposed to just AFKing or bank standing or whatever. So I do think we've seen a lean towards pragmatic rewards. Now, this is a good thing for mysterious balls. Mysterious balls are a pragmatic reward that give you that shiny chance. Obviously, shinies are just a visual, but I think that is a much more valued visual and a much more respected visual these days than simply owning a something like a high-end vanity. So I think we've seen a big shift recently towards shinies and towards things like, I guess, shiny charms, richest charms, like those valuable items that can potentially RP sometimes. Those valuable items that can actually affect your gameplay, items that affect your gameplay a lot more than just visuals on your screen like vanities. And then point number 3 I want to talk about before getting into actual individual assessments. I'm personally not in a rush to make investments in this event season because of 2 reasons. Number 1, liquid capital is very valuable right now, especially in a tumultuous time in the PokeMMO economy with less viable money-making methods available outside of event season, and people are enjoying the Pokeyen grind, in my opinion, less outside of event season. So liquid capital, having that pure Pokeyen, is more valuable right now than just having it all wrapped up into investments. And then reason number 2 is that I've simply already made a lot of investments. I feel pretty good on this event season. I've tied up a lot of money into a lot of things, and honestly, I need to start slowly selling things off as opposed to dumping more money into tied up assets. I can do a whole video on the process of selling things off and how delicate that is and how slow and steady you need to take things. You cannot just dump, and that's a really important thing to consider when making these investments in PokeMMO. It's not just like, an easy 10 mil here and there. Yes, it is sometimes easy money just sitting on your hands and making passive Pokeyen, but it's going to take time to actually pull that money out of that item. But I just told you a big piece of information, right? As an endgame player, I'm not rushing to make investments in this event season. And you could take this 2 ways. You could follow the same trend as me, or you could hear that information and understand that a lot of endgame players might be in a similar situation to me and make the opposite decision to counteract that. So once again, I don't know what the right decision is. That's one that's up to you guys and up to your call. All right, I think it's enough preamble. I do just love rambling about investing in PokeMMO. There's just so much to talk about. It is an incredibly deep part of the game, and it's the most beautiful part of the game. The market of PokeMMO is a gorgeous, gorgeous thing, even in tough times. All right, next up, let's finally start addressing individual items. So first things first, I do want to talk about Mysterious Cherish Ball, as I think it is the best item to invest in during the event. I've been a big fan of Mysterious Balls in general. I think it's really hard to miss on Mysterious Balls. Shiny Hunters are just nuts. As a Shiny Hunter, we are insane. We will spend copious amounts of Pokeyen to give us a slight boost, a slight chance at that Shiny. Mysterious Cherish Balls lowering the Shiny rate to 1 in 6,000 is really, really crazy. Now, it's not the most effective way to use your Pokeyen during things like Shiny Wars. That was actually one of the biggest mistakes that I made in previous years. Now, I was thankfully still able to make money on investments, but I predicted that Mysterious Balls would be insane during Shiny Wars, but it turned out that simply using your Pokeyen to buy fossils was actually better, or even buy dittos for eggs. Like, those were actually better points towards your team on average, even though popping Mysterious Balls is so ridiculously fast. You can get a shiny within, I think, 3 or 4 hours popping Mysterious Balls. The problem is that it takes a stupid amount of Pokeyen, a stupid. I mean, you would take this number, 60,000 Pokeyen. You can lower the shiny rate down to about 1 in 4,134 or something like that with Shiny Charm and Donor status and the current 15% boost during the event, to be fair, which is very, very important. So if we take this 61,000 number and multiply it by 4,000 balls, that's going to cost you 244 million Pokeyen. It's a stupid amount of Pokeyen, don't get me wrong, but there are some players who are willing to spend 244 million Pokeyen to essentially get a shiny on the spot, to essentially get a shiny within 3 to 4 hours of just popping balls back to back to back. Now, I have a slight benefit of actually predicting the price on this thing because there's only 6 days left in the event. I think that this item will actually drop a little bit more, even though I could be wrong on this. Even though this item has already hit around 56,000 Pokeyen. That was arguably its bottom out, and now it's been rising a little bit ever since. So you guys might disagree with me, which is super fair. There's a very solid chance, I think it's 50-50. There's a very, very solid chance Mysterious Cherish Ball has already reached its bottom out. 56,000 was the bottom out. And now it's just going to rise in value as people are buying them up as investments for the event. I think that is a very, very, very arguable thing. Maybe I'm on the side of hopium a little bit. I think this item will drop back down just a little bit to about 58k, maybe 56k again. I think it'll drop back down a little bit. I think some people are making preemptive investments, but also it's hard to tell. In PokeMMO, like, when it comes to investments especially, people are always trying to one up another. So like, if someone, like 2 years ago, people would make investments 3 days before the event ended, right? And then I think like 1 year ago, it was like 5 days. And if now we might be at that point where people are making investments 7 days before the event ends. And that just might be the new world of PokeMMO that we need to kind of adapt to. So things are always changing, things are always adapting, and you kind of have to adapt with them or you will fall behind when it comes to a market. So I'm thinking this will drop back down. I see a 6-day timer, and I see, man, farming Mysterious Cherish Balls is really good Pokeyen right now. It currently earns about 290,000 Pokeyen per hour to go catch swarms and turn them in for Mysterious Cherish Balls. It's really, 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 really good Pokeyen per hour. If you have some alt accounts, all you need is like the 5 regions done and a catching Breloom. That's it. And like some Pokeballs and maybe some repels. Like, it's really, really low requirements. Everybody can go farm the hell out of Mysterious Cherish Balls. I see 6 days left for people to farm these. But it's also very possible there are some people with high amounts of Pokeyen who are just not going to let this item fall that low and will just keep making those investments and buying them up until that price. So it's a tough one to tell. The biggest question is, where is the bottom out price for Mysterious Cherish Ball? Has it already hit, and is it just going to go up from this point further? That's up to you guys to decide. I'm guessing 56, 58k again. It's even possible that it drops after the event, after some hype dies down and people realize they don't really want to hold on to them, and they panic sell. A lot of people who make investments, I'm doing my little bunny fingers off camera, investments PokeMMO. A lot of investors in PokeMMO don't have the actual patience it takes to make investments. They buy investments and then they sell them 2 to 4 weeks later because they don't want to actually hold on to them. I always say, to be fair, this rule has changed. I used to say, if you want to make an investment in PokeMMO, you've got to be willing to hold on to it for at least 2 years. And if you don't have the patience to do that, you're probably not, fit for investing. I do think that this rule has changed. I think that, stupidly, you can sell off items like 3 months. Like, I think you can sell off investments 3 months after buying them and almost always make profit, which is kind of disgusting, kind of insane, easy to abuse. But I would say 3 months to 1 year. I would still recommend players, if you're not willing to hold an item for at least 1 year, I would recommend making investments. Like, if you're going to need that liquid capital within the next 12 months, like, I would be really careful about what investments you make. But I still do think that Mysterious Cherish Ball is an S tier investment. I think it's a very, very powerful one. I think it's super good. I think it's really hard to go wrong with Mysterious Balls because shiny hunters are insane. I think the real question is, where is the bottom out? Like, I think Mysterious Cherish Balls will go up. They will make Pokeyen. They will be insane. They'll probably, last year's are up to 90k, right? Versus this year's 60k. And they're the same shiny rate, just different Pokemon varieties. I think the real question is, where is the bottom out? When should you start buying, not should you buy? Because if you want to make consistent sealed product Pokeyen and PokeMMO, Mysterious Balls are the play. They're just so freaking good, and shiny hunters are insane. All right, that covers Mysterious Balls, I think, in full. Next up is Lucky Red Envelope, which I actually wrote down and predicted 38,000 Pokeyen. I thought that these would fall to 38k, which is just about where they're at, and I predicted that a few days ago. I can't prove that to you guys, so feel free to, think I'm lying or whatever. But yeah, Lucky Reds have dropped down to 38,000 Pokeyen. Doing pretty well right now. I think, once again, I think this is an A tier investment. I do lean away from things like Lucky Reds as opposed to Mysterious Balls nowadays. However, like in the past, Lucky Reds were some of the craziest, best investments you could make in PokeMMO. But I do think it's changed a little bit. I also think we can see the stock right now, 5,200 of these. I do think it's also important to consider that less people, I do think, were farming the Abundant Shrine this year, and way more people were doing the Mysterious Balls. So factoring in like how many people actually farmed that part of the event does come into play. I think that these could be, I don't know. The problem is, I think that these could be a sneaky good investment, but I also really don't like the ultra rares, and we'll cover the ultra rares in greater detail in a bit. Whether or not you want to invest in Lucky Reds, I think, is tied to how you feel about the rapier as well as the gold hair ornament. So make your decisions, based on your thoughts. I'm not touching these Lucky Reds personally. I still think they are an A tier investment. It's pretty hard to go wrong on sealed stuff like this, but as you can see, Lucky Reds from last year have not gone too crazy, but I still made some decent Pokeyen on them. So it really depends on what their bottom out. I think 38k is probably the bottom out here, but we'll see if they go lower or higher or what happens with those. I still think, once again, sealed product is still generally pretty safe. I think it's an A tier investment. Now, on to the final sealed product. There's only 3 sealed products. The final sealed product, and I guess there's also, to be fair, there's also red envelopes, but I think red envelopes, these are more for beginners. Or like, I used to invest a ton into like lower cost sealed products. These follow the same trends essentially as Lucky Reds or the other, like the higher end sealed products. But I recommend trying to go for the higher end ones if you can afford them, is kind of my recommendation. But these are not bad if you're like super new. They're not bad to do. But look at last year's. They have not really moved. So it's a tough thing to tie a lot of your capital up into. Anyways, back to the which I think this arguably could be the most underrated sealed product. The Lunar New Year mystery box. These are the PvP boxes. And to be fair, the PvP game mode was so fun this year. There's about the same stock almost as the Lucky Reds, which is pretty crazy. These also have a big collection of vanities and little items and trinkets and rare candies, but they're 17,900 Pokeyen. It wouldn't surprise me if these are super underrated. They're just so new. We don't have as much price history and like knowledge on these. We've only seen these this year. This is the first year. Honestly, if you really want to get on the ground floor, if you want to, if you want to get on the ground floor and really have a chance for some insane investment potential, in my opinion, I think that buying like a bunch of each of all three of these, some of these have already gone up, to be fair, so factor that in, but like this is the first year's, no one's talking about, this is the first year's cycle of these vanities, right? We've never seen these before, these sealed products. The first year cycle of almost any new sealed product does extremely well long term. We've seen it with Mysterious Balls. We've seen it with the old Halloween boxes, the old Santa boxes, the old Lucky Reds. Like, I do think these are being slept on a little bit, but we'll have to see. Obviously, it's a little bit risky, obviously. I think I'm putting these currently I put them at B tier because of how risky they are, because we don't have those comparisons on the price history, but I almost want to move them up to A tier because I think the potential is just so high. I think that these are the riskiest sealed products, but I think they also have because of that, they have the highest potential. And I think they're also like there's not enough eyes on them. Sometimes a lot of eyes being on an investment is a good thing because you can obviously bank off of other people's hype and excitement, but then sometimes something being overlooked is what really causes it to go crazy in value. A good example of this I always love to shout out is the green Unity cape. This was an RP item from January 2023. So this item literally cost like 4 million Pokeyen when it came out. It is now worth 78 million Pokeyen, and nobody expected this and nobody talked about it. 2023 January was a very interesting year and a very interesting event for PokeMMO because it was the year that Shaman came out, which was, I believe, the first, if not, I think it was the first ownable legendary, I guess, mythical Pokemon in PokeMMO. We had never seen anything like that before, so people were obsessed with the Shaman hunt and the Shaman grind. So not as many people paid attention to these sealed products or investments or the RP items of that event, and it left the green Unity cape by the wayside. And then later on, a lot of people fell in love with the visual of the cape. So now this is a 4 mil item when it came out that is now worth 78 mil just in 3 years time. Next up, I'm going to cover a few of the individual vanities and give them my personal ratings, but also not cover each and every one of them. There's just too many in my opinion. If you want to see my full vanity video, I did cover all of them in terms of my visual opinion and like just like the pricing of them and stuff. So the price history is there. If you want to go check that out, is over on my channel. But first things first, I think the vanity that the most people, if you're going to invest in a single vanity, this is probably the vanity most people should be looking at. I think the origin hairstyle is currently in the A tier. There is 156 in stock, which is a pretty like high stock in my opinion for a big vanity like this, but it is a massive vanity. It's a hairstyle. It does take over your hat, which must be considered, but it's just the price. Like this vanity is not like amazing. In my opinion, the mermaid hair is like much better, but the mermaid hair is also 3 million Pokeyen. So like there's just so many, like the fact that this is 400k it's one of the cheapest hairstyles in the entire game, I believe. If we actually go over to do cosmetics, you can sort by cosmetics, go to hairs. It is one of the, beside these like basic, like you can buy the like afro, the really basic ones. Yeah, it is the cheapest orange, which means like event only. These are all from the gift shop. It is the cheapest event hairstyle by 2.5 mil. The next cheapest is 3 mil at the mermaid hair. There's not that many hair options in PokeMMO. This being 450k is just the cheapest option, unbelievably by far. And also, like, if there was a concern of us getting a new hair slot to overtake this one over the next few months, you know, that would be one thing. If this was like a Halloween investment, I might view this a bit differently. The fact that it is the Lunar New Year and that this is the final hairstyle we'll see until next October, I think that this actually has really good potential. Arguably S tier. I'm putting it at A tier as an investment this year, with it currently being 450,000 Pokeyen, that's my predicted bottom out. I would be shocked if this goes down further from this point. It might dip down a little bit during the panic period, but I think this could be, I'm not really a huge fan of it. It's like a 5 out of 10 vanity to me, but I think a lot of people will like it. So I think it should be quite high. Maybe they'll, in the future, I could see this being a vanity in the future that they also make colorable. It's currently not, which is one of the biggest problems, which I think having hair be colorable is super important. I'm not a huge fan. Like, I wouldn't want blonde hair on my character personally, but obviously some people would prefer that, just personal preference. So just something to consider. I think this is a pretty darn good, probably the best single vanity investment in my opinion. I'm putting it at A tier, like almost low S tier. And then next up, this one might shock you. The red tassel hair clips, and this one's actually already spiked up in value. Fuck, before I was looking at it right before the video. These were 9,000 Pokeyen a piece prior to me recording this video. Also 156 on the market. Similar quantities as the Origin hairstyle, which is super strange. 14,000 Pokeyen is the current price for these. I really like cheap vanities, and this is a vanity that like not everybody will want. I'm not gonna wear these, I don't think, anytime soon personally. The fact that the red tassels take over your hair slot is not a great thing, unfortunately, but especially these have potential because number one, I think some people just like this look. I think it's a kind of a girly pop, a cutie look. I think some people will want this look, which is awesome, and I respect it. I think these are an A tier investment. I really like vanities where you can get a shit ton of them at a low cost. I'm a big fan. Like, I bought a bunch of Kobans when they were 20k a piece. They're now 35. I'm a big fan of like the bunny tails. I have a bunch of the bunny tails. A lot of vanities that get down to 10, 15, 20k a piece will eventually get up to 30, 40, right? So if you can get 10 million Pokeyen worth of a vanity at 15k and then it doubles up to 30k, well, now you've made 20 mil or whatever. Now the problem is you have to wait for all of them to sell, and that is the waiting on these to sell is probably the biggest problem. So like different things sell faster. Mysterious Cherish Balls will sell quite fast. The liquidity of items must be considered in your investments. Lucky Red's pretty liquid, right? Mysterious Cherish Balls probably the most liquid. Origin Hair, decently liquid, and you don't need to buy as many. But having to buy so much of a high quantity of these to properly like make a real investment is tough. Also, they just so quickly go up in price. As you can see, the cheapest one's 14k, but they quickly get up. Like, if you buy like 50 of these, you know, it's gonna be like 30k a piece. So like, it's tough. It's tough. I think this could be I think it's an A tier investment, honestly, an underrated investment. I think it's a look that people will go for, and there's not like a ton of them on the GTL, at least in terms of the price. Obviously, Origin Air, it's different. There's the same amount, but that one's 450k a piece versus these are like 14k a piece. In my opinion, like the calling what is high versus low quantity matters in correlation to its price. All right. Next up, let's talk the RP vanities. And RP vanities are they are the hardest vanities to judge in the entire game. You have things like the green Unity Cape, which once again is like 70 million Pokeyen, but then you also have other RP vanities that will go down to like 800k, 1 mil. So like some RP vanities just die and some thrive. The Noble Steed, I have at B tier. I think a lot of people might prefer this as their like vanity of choice. I know a lot of people love to dress up as Link from Legend of Zelda in PokeMMO, and I think that, you know, this kind of fits that theme. You can also do like there's two different styles of horses. If you don't know, you can do the red style horse, which is pretty cool. Both are pretty interesting. This is quite cool in my opinion, but I think people will prefer the natural horse look a lot of the time. I think the animations are beautiful. That's a big thing, is the animations are just beautiful on this vanity. Currently costing 3 million Pokeyen. You have to factor in only 17, very few on the market, but I think most people are just buying the RP with Pokeyen to then buy these. A huge thing to consider here is the price of RP during this event. RP is at record low prices, which means two things. Number one, vanities are cheaper in terms of pure Pokeyen to buy if they're RP vanities. There are vanities that are 2,000 RP that cost 5 mil Pokeyen to buy because RP was much more, or 6 mil even at times, versus the fact that the horse is 3 mil Pokeyen because RP is so cheap must be considered. That means that it's really cheap right now for you to invest in, but it also means on the flip side, more of them will come into the game. There will be more supply because they are so much cheaper. You know, think about how many horses would come into the game if they were 6 mil a piece, right? Versus 3 mil. I think it's a big thing to consider when a lot of players are buying the RP vouchers and buying the item off the shop. So just, you gotta factor that in. An important thing. I put the Noble Steed overall at B tier. I could see it being a really good, I could see this going up to like 10 mil, similar to other things have in the past of this variety. I could see it being 10 mil. I could see it being 1 to 2 mil. It's just really, it's hard to tell with stuff like this. I'm going to put it at B tier for the time being. Next up is the Musketeer hat. Now, I do really like this vanity, and I almost wonder if that is making my opinion biased on it. So factor that in. There are 18 of them in stock. Once again, most people are buying the RP to buy these though, so that you can't really, the stock on these is a bit of a red herring. So keep that in mind. Now, the Musketeer hat, what's really cool about it, in my opinion, and the biggest underrated factor, I'm putting the Musketeer hat at A tier above the Noble Steed. That might end up being wrong. I think the fact that this is also a hairstyle is underrated. The fact that you can take the hat off and have it just be a hairstyle and have it be colorable is really, like, this is really important. This just being a colorable, long hair with a little braid at the end of it, I think is honestly one of the biggest factors. An item doubling as a hat slot, and then also if you prefer the non-hat visual, like if you hate the Musketeer hat itself, you don't have to wear that, right? Like it's also just a hairstyle. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that fact. You have 3 different versions of the Vanity, which it can all transform into at will. So I think 1.1, like for me, I know it's an RP item, but seeing like 1.5 mil for an item like this, for a hairstyle that can swap between multiple different modes, this feels super cheap to me. I can see this spiking up to 4-6 mil pretty easily, but once again, I could be wrong. This is once it leaves the shop, once the event is over, once time passes, we'll really see how supply and demand affects this item. I'm putting the Musketeer hat at A tier for the time being. And then next up, the Musketeer tabard. Body slots are tough. Body slots, I mean, look, the green unit keeps a back slot. Body slots, I just have never really had success investing in. I don't recommend body slots. This one is very bold, which means one of 2 things. It's either going to be beloved as a must-need body slot to match for certain outfits, or it's going to be so bold that it can't fit with any other outfits. I put it at C tier. I think it's a coin flip. I think the Musketeer tabard is, I'm avoiding it personally, but I would understand if someone wanted to like take a risk on it. Next up is the Panda hat, currently 50,000 Pokeyen at the time of recording. I put this at C tier. I think cute little animal hats can just go up or down. They're just so hard to predict, obviously. We already have another panda hood, although I do think this panda hat is so much better. The panda hood looks like an NES that is placed near a window, and then it soaked up the sun rays and absorbed that color. If you know retro games, you know what I mean. And now you have to like clean it or whatever to get it out, and it's like really annoying and difficult, where the panda hat actually looks like a panda. So I think the panda hood is kind of trash, respectfully. I think the panda hat will replace this. I think if you want to be a panda in game, which I don't know how many people want that. This question is like, is XD so random humor still in, or are there enough people that love panda? Are there enough people whose favorite animal is a panda where they'll want to own this? Is the question. Is it still active? There's 145 in stock. There are 50,000 Pokeyen. I could see this vanity being 25k or 200k, and I just don't know which. I think it's honestly, maybe C tier is a bit too rough. I think it's honestly a decently safe investment at 50k. I'm gonna up this to a B tier. I think it's honest. I don't see it going lower than like 40k, to be honest. I think it has potential to be like 200k, but it's still an individual vanity risk. So that's up to you. I'm not gonna search it personally. If I was earlier in my investment career, I might take the risk on it, but I'm chilling for right now. Next up, the horse mask and the horse plush. Oh, it's big. I know I'm calling like everything coin flip, so apologies. I know I'm calling everything coin flip. It could be huge, it could be shit, but man, the horse mask really is the epitome of like, it could be huge or it could be a dead meme item. It is B tier. The horse mask is a B tier item, in my opinion, a B tier investment rather. It could be huge. I mean, this thing could go up to fucking 30 mil. People could, it wouldn't surprise me if a team picked this as their team item and everyone needed to get one. And it's like some shitty, dumb little, I say shitty, but I would love that meme. You know, some shitty, dumb little meme that I would love is the best sentence. There's only 32 of them in stock. That's a pretty low stock, man. 1.2 million Pokeyen at the time of recording. I think there's potential here, and it depends on how much power do memes have in PokeMMO. I think if the economy was in a better spot, I think if Pokeyen was flowing better, if people were enjoying grinding Pokeyen more, I would buy these the fuck. I would eat these up, you know? But I think because people are holding their wallets a little bit closer to their chest right now in PokeMMO, their little coin purses, I would be weary of this. I think that's my final. I would give it a B tier rating. Horse plush. This might be a hot take, a very, very hot take. At 500k, this is a D tier investment in my opinion. I could be dead wrong on this. We'll have to see in the future. It's currently 500k. There are 37 in stock. I'm putting this at a D tier investment. There are too many other cute thing on top of your head vanities to compete with. It is a whole archetype that has arisen within PokeMMO. There is the pudgy penguin. There is the froggy, and there also is the white rabbit plush, which to be fair is like the creme de la creme. The 70, oh my god, it's gone up so much. The 70 mil. Ooh, ultra rare from, once again, from that Lunar New Year 2023. That was a special year, man. The Shaman year. Lunar New Year 2023. Oof. But honestly, I'm staying 500k. I think it's too much. The other ones, the froggy and the penguin, are cheaper already. I don't see a value in the horse plush. I would love to be wrong. Apologies to the horse plush gang and horse plush supporters. I think this is too expensive. I think it'll go down. I don't get it. Maybe there's enough horse girls and horse boys out there who will love it, but I'm putting it at D tier. And then now the two vanities that I'm actually not even giving a score, touching, recommending. I am not touching the two ultra rares with a 10-foot pull. Yes, they are ultra rares, which mean they could be 30 mil or 800k or somewhere in the middle. But I do not care for either of the ultra rare vanities at all. There is the Musketeer Rapier, which looks like a rune dagger, which is honestly kind of like, that's the selling point to me, is that it looks not like a rapier. And then the gold hair ornament, which is currently 1.1 mil, which is very, very low during an event for an ultra rare vanity. So that's something to consider, is the fact that this is so freaking cheap. But there's 36 in stock, which is quite high, or like kind of high or medium to high for an ultra rare vanity, and it looks not my tempo. It is not my, I don't see I gave this one of the lowest scores. I think I gave the rapier a 1 out of 10, and this is 0 out of 10 personally. And I'm a big fan of the pixel sprite work, and the artwork in PokeMMO has been amazing over the past few years. And I don't mean to like harp on the negatives. I don't want to shit on these artists who put their blood, sweat, and tears into everything they do. This one is just not for me. This could be someone's favorite vanity in the game, and that makes me happy to know that someone could love this, right? Like, it's all personal preference. There is no like objective stuff when it comes to vanities, at least in my opinion. It makes me happy knowing that someone's favorite vanity in the entire game could be the Musketeer Rapier, because it reminds them of a rune dagger from old school RuneScape. That's beautiful to me. It is not my personal preference personally. And I even talked about these were my lowest rated vanities in my full vanity list video, which we talked about earlier. I'm omega biased when it comes to these vanities, and I don't have much of a prediction for them. I am just not touching them personally. And that is my final thoughts on all the, oh, that's Wailord. My final thoughts on all the investments within PokeMMO in the Lunar New Year event 2026. I hope you guys can make some Pokeyen this year. I hope this was mildly helpful and helped you inform your decision as opposed to make your decision for you. I like to teach people the thought process, show them the history, use my 10,000 hours of experience to your guys' benefit. That is the goal here, and I hope you enjoyed. Like the video if it was helpful. Subscribe. I do put a lot of effort and work into scripting these and thinking about these, and obviously there's a lot of hours of experience behind these. If you find them helpful, like the video, subscribe for daily videos. I do upload every single day about PokeMMO. I love this game. Discord's down below. I stream on Twitch Monday through Thursday. I'll be going live here in a quick sec, actually. Discord's down below, and if you want to go above me on it, support the channel. YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, PayPal, and Venmo donations, the two best ways to support there at the end, do allow this channel to exist and do allow me to upload every single day. They keep me one day away from the Taco Bell shifts. I will see you guys later, though. Have a good one. I'll see you later, guys. Have a good event. But for now, bye. Peace, Cerrito. Yo, what's up? Outro Patrouski here. I wanted to take this second to say thank you so much for watching the entire video. It is thanks to people like you I'm able to make the content that I do, as well as everybody whose name is listed here. That's it for me. Have a fantastic day.